Hello, everyone, and welcome to the STL Tech Talk podcast. My name is JJ Hammond. We have another great show for you. Are you ready for the top tech news stories from around St. Louis? Apps you should download, awesome interviews, fun and lively commentary? Of course you are. Up first, however, our guest, featured nationally on CBS Early Show, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN Headline News, NPR, and much, much more, an award-winning television news anchor, mother, wife, writer, speaker, published author, the amazing Danielle Smith. Hello, Danielle.
Hey, JJ. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. You are a phenomenal human being, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. You raise the level and quality of the show that we will attempt to meet, but probably not get anywhere close. However, this show is not complete without my good friend, founder, editor-in-chief of STLTechTalk.com, producer of Codecast by STLTechTalk, where we teach people how to code, the uncanny Kevin Harvell. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us on this rainy day in St. Louis.
Hey, Kevin. I'm 100% sure I am nowhere near worthy of that introduction, but I do appreciate it.
No, yes, you are. And don't forget, everyone, you can follow us on all the social medias, but most of all Twitter, because that's where we're most active, at STL Tech Talk, and every other social media platform you can think of. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, STL Tech Talk. Visit our site, STLTechTalk.com, to keep up with our tech news, podcasts, codecasts, programming code, hands-on reviews, event coverage, and much, much more. And don't forget, you interact with this show by sending us feedback to contact@STLTechTalk.com. And if you're watching us live, you can ask us questions via the chat room, and we'll do our very best to answer those questions in a timely manner. Special thank you from JJ and Kevin goes out to our last guest, Dugan Sherwood, which seems like a year ago when we had him on. For some reason, I don't know, this whole Monday thing is it's seeming a little long, Kevin. I don't know if it seems that way to you, but it just seems long in between shows. Just for being awesome, thank you so much for being on the show. Dugan, appreciate that. Thank you. Also, while I'm thanking people, let's thank the sponsors of the show, Heartland Realty. Go to heartlandhomesrealty.com for all your real estate needs. And Unidev. If you dream it, they can build it. Custom software, end-to-end development, beautiful web design, and creative marketing solutions. In business for the last 25 years, with 200-plus customers, 24/7 support, you will not be let down or left out on the creation of your dreams. If you want software development, content management systems, mobile development, website design, e-commerce solutions, digital marketing, and hosting, go to our website, STLTechTalk.com, and click on their banner, or go to Unidev.com and get the high-quality service you deserve today. So let's get to it with the very first question to our amazing, beautifully smart guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into writing?
Into writing. Well, I've always been a writer. So, I mean, if I was taking you back to third grade, you'd be bored to tears. But I've lived in St. Louis for, I guess, what did we figure out, about 13 and a half years now. My traditional background is in television. So I was a reporter and anchor. And I started my primary site, which is extraordinarymommy.com, a parenting and lifestyle site, about 7.5 years ago, when I decided that I wanted to create a space for moms, parents, to go to remember the extraordinary they were doing every single day. I've been having so many conversations with moms about how challenging it was to be a mom. When was the last time they showered? How do they get their kids to eat vegetables and not fight? Sure. And I realized that moms were forgetting how extraordinary it was to be a mom and how much good they were doing. And I realized that one of my primary responsibilities as a mom is to teach my small people to be good citizens of the world. And so I created this space that incorporates and has grown. Now I actually just this year revamped the site and I've hired contributing writers, so that's been a lot of fun. So we cover travel and fashion and beauty and food and social good. And so there's been so much that has grown and been amazing in that space, but it's also given me this extraordinary platform to grow so many of the things I do. I mean, you mentioned writing, so I do speak, and I do get to travel and speak about everything from branding and technology to inspiring women to be the best they can in business, and I have 2 books. So I feel very lucky that I get to do what I do here from my home and raise my family.
Oh, that's amazing. And let's not, like I said, I've been looking for a site like yours where, and I hope that more people visit your site that listen to this, because I think you do a wonderful job of explaining things and showing the good, right? Because sometimes, with all the bad that's going on, we got to have a site that's, towards the good things that are happening, maybe solutions to problems, making people's lives a little easier, and I think you do a phenomenal job at that. Yeah, and your speaking engagements and everything like that, but we're going to get into all that. So you have a long resume, and in fact, on one of your profiles, it says you're a storyteller, and I think that's so important because you're able to keep people's attention. And I said this before the show, and I'll say it again: is you do a wonderful job of getting across things that matter to people, instead of just like giving lip service or just saying what everybody else is saying. You say things in a way that is both educational and engaging. So I congratulate you on that. So tell what are some of your inspirations for that when you do those things?
Well, I think, first of all, I really appreciate that. I have found that you don't want to hear, and by you I mean the collective you, people don't want to hear me blather on about something they can't relate to. So being able to, and there are people who are far more gifted at storytelling and at writing than I will ever be. I use video as a platform a lot, and I found that it's important to use whatever gifts you might have, and I am better at video than I am at writing, although I do love to write, and I find that storytelling in whatever format works for you is your best avenue. But in both scenarios, I think really sharing an experience that people can put into their own basket is what makes people say, yes, I get that. Whether it's trying to get stains, turn baseball uniform pants white again, or whether it's making sure that your kids are eating breakfast, or I did work with ConAgra and their child hunger campaign a number of years ago, and I remember really when I started to hear the stats about how many kids are hungry, how many kids are actually go hungry on a regular basis, because when we think about child hunger, typically we think about homeless children, and I mean that's a very broad generalization, and I'm talking about my experience initially. But then I realized, as I started to understand what hunger actually looks like, it's children who do not have enough food at home and often go to school hungry. And I started to remember children that I had gone to school with, in private school, by the way, when I was a child, who would come to school with a brown bag, and he would fold that brown bag up again when he was done with his lunch, and he would scavenge in the back of the room anything that other kids weren't eating. And I started to realize that that's what hunger looked like, because he was one of 8 kids, and he didn't have enough to eat at home. And once I understood what that looked like, I was able to tell a story that explained to people who might be able to look around their own children's classrooms and recognize hunger in a different way. And I think that's part of what storytelling is making real life relatable in a way that makes us look around, I think, and see things through a kaleidoscope that we weren't already viewing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's solid. Kevin, you're up with the next question.
I mean, that's things that most people really may not think about, especially, you being able to acknowledge that as a youth yourself during school, to see something like that and then relate to it as an adult with your own kids. That's pretty nice.
Well, I think that in that particular situation, what I wanted to do was sit down and have a conversation with my children to make sure that they saw something or were capable of recognizing something now that I didn't see then, because I didn't know what it was.
Right.
But now that I can see it, wow, to be able to raise children who are capable of having an even more compassionate heart than I did, only because I'm able to give them the gift of recognizing something. And maybe by just sharing that story, maybe there's someone else that reads it and has that aha moment too. That's what I hope happens when I write about something in that capacity.
That's awesome.
All right, so tell us about your time as a TV news anchor and reporter, and what some of your favorite memories are from that time in your life.
It's funny. More often than not, I'm asked why I don't do it anymore. And
Sure.
What's interesting about that is there were things that I loved. I loved the opportunity to tell good stories, but anyone who watches traditional news knows that we hear a lot more in the negative space. We hear a lot more about things that are sad, and for me, that was the thing that was most difficult to stomach. I was
Sure.
not the person that could not continue to knock on someone's door and say, I'm so sorry, your 3-year-old drowned in the bathtub. Would you like to talk about it? Even though I knew that the way I was supposed to approach that was from the standpoint of maybe you have something to share that can help someone else. And I recognized that, and I got that as a lesson, and I understood that, but I didn't have the constitution for it.
Yeah,
And
you're
so
a professional, though. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, you're a professional. You got to do it.
What I loved was the ability to help a family who was going through a situation, or one of my very favorite stories, and I told this one recently, my first television job was in Yuma, Arizona, so on the border of Mexico and California. And so there, Yuma is both a border town and a military town. So the Marine Corps Air Station and the Yuma Proving Ground, which is an Army base, are both there. So I did some extraordinary military stories. I met the crew from the Enola Gay, and watching them see a Harrier for the first time, because the Harrier can hover, and for the crew from the Enola Gay, the very idea that any type of flight equipment could hover rather than take off was extraordinary.
Right.
Were brilliant, funny gentlemen. And then one of the other things I did while I was in Yuma was I flew with the Marine Corps in a CH-46C Knight, which is a helicopter that has the dual helicopters, the dual propellers. And we flew with Santa Claus and the Marine Corps down into the base of the Grand Canyon, and we delivered Christmas toys to an Indian tribe that lived there.
Wow.
And so I have moments of pure, extraordinary things that will never happen again in my lifetime.
Sure.
But I also know that there were things that I left. When I left TV, I knew, or I believed, that I would never get to cover the Olympics like I wanted to. I would never get to cover a major sporting event like I'd wanted to. And it turned out that when I started working in this space, within that first year, I recognized that YouTube was a big deal before it became the mammoth entity that it is now. And so I started to do a lot of video, and I managed to hit the radar of some PR agencies and some brands. And because I was working in that good space, and because I was able to parlay my on-camera work and that good into work, one agency and Procter & Gamble hired me and sent me as a correspondent to the Vancouver Olympics.
Wow.
And
Nice.
Gamble sent me to the Pro Bowl in Hawaii to cover social good work they were doing. They built playgrounds. The NFL built a playground in one day with Kaboom.
Wow.
And so I did that, and then I got to cover the Pro Bowl. So there were these things that happened. Like I've been able to parlay the work that I had done, the work that I loved, which was the good and the correspondent work, into the space where I am now, which is one of the reasons that I love what I do. And I am a happy person because I do for a living what I wanted to do as a little girl.
That's
and
awesome.
And I got to give up the part that was hard, the part
about it. Yeah.
that didn't feed my soul. And I get to show my kids what it looks like.
So 3 things. One, let's go back just a hair, just a little bit. So one is, how do you have a balanced life and a balanced approach? Because from the moment you start talking, and this is on and off camera, the moment you start talking, I'm just like, whatever you have to say, I'll buy it. I don't know, where's my wallet? Oh my gosh, no, but I mean,
I'm going to make you my official agent.
Okay. So yeah, no, don't do that. I do a horrible job. Is how do you balance that life? Because I know that other than pharmaceuticals, how are you able to stay sane and upbeat with 2 kids and running your own business and being able to have the kind of drive that it takes to push through, find good stories, go through all the analytics, go through all the stuff that we talked about? How do you do that?
Okay. So first of all, I don't believe in balance under any circumstances. It's a bunk idea to me. And honestly, this is actually one of the talks that I give. Like, balance is a bunk idea to me. The second that I gave up the notion of balance, I believe, is this bar that someone's constantly holding over my head. And anytime I reach for it, there's an imaginary person that yanks it right out of my grasp.
Sure.
The second that I said to myself, I don't have to be balanced, what I'm in fact doing is juggling, which means as a juggler, I'm occasionally going to drop a ball. I'm going to forget that my kids have silly hat day at school, and they're going to be the only child that shows up without a silly hat. Or I'm going to forget to turn in the permission slip, or I'm going to miss a deadline, and I have to make up for that. The second that I realized that I was going to drop those balls, and I cannot spend all of my time feeling guilty that I'm not balanced, but as a juggler, you drop them and you pick them back up and you move on, I felt okay, which means that I can, in juggling and dropping balls, I can forgive myself. And when I forgive myself, I'm okay. Does it mean that I am happy all the time? Absolutely not. I have half a dozen friends who would be happy to testify for you that I occasionally lose my mind.
Oh, sure.
That's part of it. I think that we recognize that we're human, and we drop those balls and we lose our minds, and sometimes we curl up. When I was writing my second book, I remember there was a time when I thought that I wasn't going to make it, and my husband, I cried. I sat at my desk and I cried, and my husband slept on my floor, just telling me that I could do it, because there are times when you feel that you cannot do it, and those are real moments that you sometimes share with the tribe that you have built in this space, so that they know that you're real and you're alive. And I met a girl this weekend when I was speaking, and as a general rule, at my age, I don't like to have roommates that I don't know. And the girl who is running the conference is one of my favorite people on the planet, and she said, "Trust me, you'll be okay." And she put me in this room with this girl, and she and I ended up staying up until midnight talking, and I had a moment of vulnerability with her, and I cried a little bit. And she wrote a blog post about me yesterday, and she tweeted to me, and she said, "I wrote you a bit of a love letter. I hope you're okay with that." And the title of it is She Cried. And she talked about how she had this image of me before she met me as being completely pulled together and much the way you introduced me. And yet to have seen that side of vulnerability in me and recognize that I'm human, and I have 2 kids, and both of my kids play 3 competitive sports each, so we run like crazy. And, oh, that's right, you're real, and sometimes you fall apart too. It's good to know.
Right.
So the other 2 things that I want to talk to you about is constructive imbalance. I think that's a good term that I've always lived by. Is a way to be is a way to stay hungry, stay because I'm a very disciplined person. My wife tells me all the time, "You're like one of the most disciplined people I know," and I'm like, "You must not know very many people." No, but I think that having a constructive imbalance is also good. The other thing you said is the other thing you said that I wanted to kind of touch on just in a moment. Leverage your talents in a constructive way. So you leveraged your ability to be on camera, you leveraged your ability to do certain things, and you did that. So if you combine a work ethic, if you develop a work ethic and you find out what you're good at and then leverage those talents, somebody's going to notice that. And as long as you, not you, but the collective you, like you said before, as long as our listeners know that there is a way in which you can do these things, and you may fail or you may not be awesome at it at first, but if you can have a goal and then just a realistic and obtainable goal that you set for yourself and you go after, and you just work and work and work and not be distracted. That was the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, is how do you manage your distractions. Is so important. So I hope that people can take that away from your talks, because I think you do a good job of talking about that. And the last thing was managing your mistakes. So it sounds like you manage your mistakes very, very well. A lot of people, I also have another thing where I say worrying is useless. So when I start to worry about something, I just go, "Dude, worrying is completely useless and you're wasting your time. Why don't you use that time in a constructive manner?" So I think you do all of those things very well, and hopefully that comes across to our listeners.
Well, you had a couple of points there, and I'm not sure which one you'd like me to address first, but I think when you say worrying is useless, where my brain goes there is to a Theodore Roosevelt quote, which I use a lot, which is "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I find that in this space, it's very, very easy to do. And that's also where distractions come from. It's very easy for me to spend a lot of time on Facebook looking at what other people are doing, and looking at the success other people are basking in. And I think that what I have to do when I find myself distracted that way, if for some reason I find myself falling down that rabbit hole and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not feeling enough," which is, we had a brief conversation about tattoos earlier, which my tattoo is new, but the word on there is enough. because I decided this year that I needed to remind myself that I am doing enough. And that I am good enough at the job that I am doing. It's important for me to be enough for me, not enough for anyone else. And so I am not going to get distracted because I am doing enough in the space where I am right now. Am I perfect at it? No. While it's nice to think that I am managing myself very well, I learned a long time ago that part of the key to that is asking for help.
Yeah.
When I spoke this weekend, I spoke at a conference called Bloggy Boot Camp, and their larger event is called Women Get Social, and it's to help people who are beginning or looking to move forward in this space, in influencer space. And I speak with one of the founders, Tiffany Romero, and she always says, and I completely agree with her, it is never my goal to be the smartest person in the room, because I need to always be growing and learning and stretching myself. And I found that when I was there this weekend, there were a couple people who spoke, and I thought, that is going to change my life if I manage to implement their advice. I like to grow and learn and stretch. And that's part, and I have to reach out for help, because the things they were suggesting, there isn't enough bandwidth in my world to say, I need to change and implement all of this advice they've just given. I need to ask for help because I don't have the time or the energy with everything else I'm doing to implement an entirely new Pinterest strategy if I would like to grow that platform, no matter how brilliant it sounds or how much it would benefit me.
Right.
So you have to, but I could find myself incredibly distracted and or overwhelmed if I thought, okay, I'm doing that completely wrong. I am not good enough on Pinterest. That's a rabbit hole I could fall down very easily.
Right.
But it's important to look around and say, how can I help someone else? How can I reach out to someone whose asset is Pinterest and hire them to help me build there, because that's their asset? I have to spend time working on my strengths, not waxing about my weaknesses.
Nice. Very cool. Kevin, you're up with the next question.
All right, so let's talk about extraordinarymommy.com. How it started, what led you to want to do that, and what all you really offer visitors that visit your website.
All right. So I mentioned before that one of the reasons I started it was because I wanted that place to exist for parents to remember that what they were doing every day was extraordinary, no matter how frustrated you felt, no matter how tapped you felt, whether or not you got mad at your kids that day. I wanted the end of the day to hit that place where you remembered that you were doing something extraordinary in raising children. Right. And the genesis was twofold. One, I'd had a moment where I wanted to write a book, because that had always been sort of a overused phrase, bucket list item for me. Right. And I reached out to my dad.
I own your book, and I owned your book before I even knew who you were.
Did you really?
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. Well, I reached out to my dad and said I wanted to write this book, and my dad said, "Hey, I know a publisher. My dad is the quintessential I know a guy kind of person." So he says he's going to reach out to someone he knew. Well, the guy he reached out to was an old school political publisher, a guy who was at the time in his 60s. And this gentleman's reaction was, sounds like a magazine article to me. And I thought, I will show you. I will show you there is an audience for what it is I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
But that sat on the back burner for me a little bit. My children at the moment are 10 and 8 years old. Delaney is 10, Cooper is 8. When Cooper was about 6 months old, I was going out with girlfriends for the very first time, my first night out after having my son. And I was the designated driver. Long story short, I had a bad feeling all day, but you can't call your friends and say, I can't go out tonight because I have a bad feeling. I dropped my last girlfriend off, and I sat in her driveway for about 5 minutes thinking, I don't feel like something feels wrong. I don't know which way I should drive home. As I started to drive home, a girl ran a red light and rolled me down an embankment. And I walked away, but I was still in my seatbelt. They had to cut me out of the car hanging upside down. And I sat on my couch the next day, and I said to myself, I will never again work for someone else. I will never again not do something that I am meant to do that makes me a better citizen of the world and that shows my kids what it looks like to be a good parent and someone who is doing something that makes them happy. And so that day, called a friend of mine who was a web designer who I had worked with in television years before in Yuma and said, I have no idea what I'm doing. Will you help me start a website? And so I started it as a site, not a blog, and I learned backwards to back my way into this. And then the first platform I joined hard was Twitter, back when the only people on Twitter were people who were actually talking to each other. And then I, from there, have learned each new platform as it's come, and that led to one book deal and then to a second book deal, and it's led to speaking, which I've always loved to do, and has always been a secret goal. And so I'm very lucky. But the site's goal has always been to put that little bit of extraordinary back into people's world, in parenting, in food, in fashion, to remind people that that extraordinary exists in the midst of all that we're doing day to day.
Yeah, I give parents props because, I mean, people always ask me, it's not that I don't like kids, it's just I don't feel like I'm ready to teach another human being how to survive in this world. I don't feel like I'm ready to teach another human being how to make it. Second of all, good thing that I don't put tattoos of stuff that I think about on me, because then I'd be covered with a whole bunch of mathematical functions that I tried to do in college. But so the other thing is, my God, you are a good storyteller. That story about your site, come on, that's gorgeous. So some of your accolades do include, and I want everybody to know this, is that a correspondent covering 2011 Pro Bowl Hawaii, 2010 Winter Olympics on behalf of P&G, Fashion 140 Conference, Lincoln Center, New York, 140 Conference, let's see, Kodiak Theater, Los Angeles, 2011 Capital One Bowl game in Orlando, Florida. I mean, you've been to a lot of places and you've done the do. How much have you leveraged that on your site going forward now? Because it says that you've been a brand and relationships manager, if you will, for these different bigger companies.
I leverage it a lot. I mean, it's back and forth. I mean, to me, what's really, really important is that when you come to the site, that you're not inundated with sponsored content.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was really tastefully done.
That's also one of the reasons that I brought in contributing writers. I wanted people to, this is where I focus on my strengths and not my weaknesses, I wanted to fill in the gaps. I am not a food photographer. I am not amazing at creating recipes and taking gorgeous food photographs. So I hired someone who is. Nice. One of my writers lives in France, and her husband is a semi-pro basketball player. She is white from Southern California. He is black from the Bahamas. They have 2 gorgeous children. She has written some of the most beautiful articles about teaching your children a second language. The post she wrote for me this past week was tips for being in an intercultural, interracial relationship or a marriage, and it's done so beautifully, because there are people out there that are entering a relationship like that are thinking, how do I blend Christmas with 2 totally different cultures?
Sure.
How do I talk to my family about this relationship I'm in and my family doesn't understand it? And so I like that we're adding all of this flavor to the site, and then you're also going to see that I have this beautiful 3 years and growing relationship with Kellogg's, where we talk about how important breakfast is in our house.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about it a lot. And it's because it's important to me, and sometimes Kellogg's is a partner with the Olympics, and so we talk about that relationship, and sometimes we're talking about new ways to spice up breakfast. And so right back to school, I threw a party for 75 people in my house, and we talked about different ways that you can make breakfast new and enticing. How do you create new recipes for breakfast to make it healthier, to add protein, to add fruit, rather than just having a straight bowl of cereal, how can you add new and different things to make it fun in your house and to make sure that your kids are going out the door with all the nutrition and health they need, so that somebody can't say to me, it's just easy, it's just not that healthy. It is if you work at it. It is if you make it that way. And so I'm a natural ambassador for Kellogg's because I believe it. So when I tell a story about what it is they're doing, I'm not just saying cereal. It's what's right?
It's within context in a way that makes sense, not some stupid commercial where you're just like, really, why did you pay all that money and I still don't know what you're talking about?
And that's one of the things that's always been important to me in every relationship that I've ever had with a brand, which is one of the reasons it's always been my goal to have a longer-term relationship with a brand, not just, sure, I'll just do a quick one-off for you.
Sure.
Not that I haven't if I thought something was worth writing about, because occasionally that happens if they have especially in a social good relationship. Sometimes there is a brand that really believes very strongly in something they're doing in the social good space, and they just need people to know more about it. And sometimes I'm just happy to write about that because I think more people need to know. And that was when I first started writing, and I had this give good, get good section on the site. The goal was to say, hey, you may not know this, but if you're planning on buying diapers, look for the Pampers that have the sticker on it that show you that every time you purchase a package of Pampers, they're donating money for fresh water in other countries.
Nice.
And it would just be something that I noticed. I didn't have a relationship with Pampers. It would just be something that I saw that I thought might make the world a little bit better.
I love that. I love that. And this is in St. Louis, folks. Yes, St. Louis, where all the bad's going on. We found some good. And we're trying to echo that like a lighthouse. And Kevin, you're up with the next question.
All right. Now, you do a lot of video work, a lot of vlogging, as they like to say. As we talked off air, a lot of stuff is moving with Twitter, or not Twitter, but YouTube and all that. Tell us a little bit about how you like to use technology to create your videos. What kind of camera do you use? Cell phone, smartphone camera, or do you use a regular camera, or what all do you like to use to do those videos?
Good question.
I use anything and everything, and the reason being, because I want people to know that you don't have to be stopped by not having massive amounts of technology.
Oh, sure.
You don't have to say, I don't have a professional camera, therefore I can't do video. So anytime I've ever talked about video, I want people to know that you can use the camera on your cell phone. And to me, the key to video is you have to have good lighting, and you have to be able to find a way to hold your camera as still as possible, because
right.
Down
Right.
gives me a headache, and I have to be able to hear you. So if you are in the middle of a crowd and everybody's screaming over you, unless it is crazy spur of the moment, it has to be shot right then, and you're showing me something that is happening, I want to be able to hear you. So if you're giving an editorial about something that has happened a couple of hours ago, I want to be able to hear you. If you're showing me something that's going on with your kids, or you want to show me the cereal you're eating, I want to be able to hear you. So nice. If I can't see you, if I can't hear you, and the camera is all over the place, then please do it over again. Beyond that, video to me, the more you do it, the better you get. If you are not doing any video, you're not going to be very good at it. And there's so much, the software that comes with your computer, it's become so much more technologically advanced, and for the most part, it's quite intuitive. Whether you have a Mac or you have a PC, play with it. The more video you shoot, the less likely you are to do anything with it, because it will become cumbersome to you. If you shoot 17 minutes of video, you're not going to do anything with it. You'll look at it and you'll be like, I don't know how to edit that. It's going to be crazy. It will just sit on your computer or on your phone, and you will eventually delete it, unless it's some type of private family video of your kids playing baseball or somebody skiing. You will just eventually get rid of it.
Nice.
There are so many options for, everything from the GoPro, which is, of course, a lot more expensive, and wow, he's brilliant and very, very wealthy. But to me, there's so much you can do now, and I love that. I love that people are trying it. I have probably 24 videos on my YouTube channel with minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes worth of tips, each one of them, that explains everything from how to stop saying the word to how to set up basic lighting in your house, which is face a window, if you don't want to spend the money on a light kit, which you don't have to if you're just getting started, to how to frame. And framing is, like, as long as you're not like this, I'm going to do this. As long as your video is not like that, like if you're not like this in your then I'm okay. You can have the top of your head cut off just a little bit. I just want to be able to focus on your face.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I do a whole series of videos on talking about how to do every aspect of video.
Maybe we should have you on before our guests come on to tell them how to do their side. That would be Because some people, it's like, hey guys, how's it going?
Well, here's the other thing. How many of these have you guys done where people spend the entire time like this?
Probably.
Yeah,
Because they're talking to themselves, right?
Yeah.
You want them to talk to you. Because when
Yeah.
they're talking to you, they're actually talking to your audience. And I can't tell you how many interviews I've done on Skype or somewhere where I have to say to them, I know it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable because they're either talking to themselves or they're trying to talk to you in the camera because they're watching you the entire time, but they can't watch you. They actually have to speak into the camera, and it feels not as intuitive because you can see something out of the corner of your eye. Down below you, you can see something moving, whether it's you or whether or not they have the camera on themselves, but they have to look into the camera because you lose that connection with your audience. If you're not looking into the camera, who are you talking to? It looks like this.
Exactly.
It definitely does take a while to get over those little hurdles, and especially the we've had guests on, and that's most of what you heard out of them. That was the number one word you would hear come out of their mouth was like,
And you want to edit it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not telling you. I mean, if we played this back, there's probably an or two in there. And there are times
but
when
you want to reduce those, Right.
There are times when I realize that I'm saying it, and more than the word we all have catchphrases we say. And the only way to figure out what those are is to go back and watch videos of yourself. I realized when I watched 5 or 6 videos of myself right in a row that I started almost every video with the word so. So here I am. To talk to you about this. So you guys won't believe what's going on. So here. Maybe.
I love so. I'm fine with so. I start writing so. I'm like so. So that's a bad thing. Huh?
For me, it was. I didn't want to have a catchphrase. I didn't want to have a word that I relied on constantly.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I want to
variety.
expand my vernacular a little bit. I want to, especially if someone is going to watch multiple videos in a row, and the way YouTube is set up now, for you to have a playlist.
Yeah.
Specifically with and it was my video tutorials. I realized watching them back. So today I'm going to talk to you about lighting. So today I'm going to talk to you. Oh my gosh, I wanted to pound my head against the wall. And it was because I did so many of them at different times that I didn't realize I was starting them that way, and I had these catchphrases. It just became this thing that I noticed about myself.
Interesting.
But we are our own biggest critic too.
Good Lord, I learn something from you every time I watch you, even if you're live. So what are the 4 applications that you use to keep kids safe online?
Okay, so depending on different ages, there are 2 that I recommend putting on your computer, and there are 2 app-wise. So 3 of them are free, 1 of them is not. So on your computer, there's K9 Web Protection, and that's one that just watches, monitors, keeps your computer safe at home. So it will flag any websites that have pornographic or bad language, profanity, and it won't let your kids get to those. One that actually costs a little bit of money is Cyber Patrol, and that one is, I want to say it's about $40, $39.95. And that one, you can actually set up time limits. So if you want to say to your kids, you're only allowed an hour a day or 2 hours a day. So in addition to monitoring and flagging the profanity and the website they should be going to, it will also set up those time frames, and it will shut things down. So if your kids, even if you're not home, it will say, like, sorry, time out, you are not allowed to move on. There are 2 apps, those are both free, that I recommend. My favorite one, and actually it just got a whole bunch of funding in the middle of this year, is called Mama Bear. And my favorite thing about Mama Bear is once it's on your phone and your kid's phone, you can communicate constantly, and it will let you know if your child is in a car that's speeding because it has GPS tracking. It will let you know where your kid is. It will let you know how many new social interactions your child has on different social platforms. It will let you know if there are people who are trying to reach out to your child on Facebook or Twitter or on Instagram or on any of those. And if that person doesn't have a certain number of friends in common with your child, if there is profanity being passed back and forth, it even has a cyberbullying aspect to it to let you know if that's happening. My favorite thing that they've just added on Mama Bear is an emoticon app. so that your child can send you an emoticon without typing out to you, hey, I really need you to come pick me up. There is an emoticon your child can send you. And this app is aimed a little bit more at kids that are older, more in that teenage era.
Sure.
So your child can actually send you an app, like an emoticon that basically says, I need you to come pick me up right now. So that your child doesn't look like they're ratting themselves out or they're really having a hard time, but they can send that emoticon. They can let you know they're almost home. They can let you know they're having a hard time. So it really is that I'm letting you be a mama bear without it looking like
Sure. I like
constantly
that.
reaching out to my mom. And then my final one is called Minor Monitor, and it's similar, but I do like Mama Bear best, and both of these are free. Now, the thing that I like about Minor Monitor is it will let you know if there's questionable content going on any of your kids' apps, if any of the content that is being shared is inappropriate. It's big on the cyberbullying as well. Did you guys hear about all the Snapchat stuff today?
Yes.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about that. Yeah.
Okay, so my daughter is 10.
Yeah, first of all, for everybody listening, don't take stupid pictures of yourself without clothes on. Just don't do that. Go ahead.
Don't take stupid pictures of yourself, period. But yes, definitely the caveat there is especially without clothes on. Considering that Snapchat's target demographic is so young, the very idea that all those pictures are out there now, and I have explained to my daughter why Snapchat is not an option for her.
Right.
And she's only 10, and she has an iPod Touch. She can only text when she has Wi-Fi because she can do it off the iMessage, and she's been texting a few of her friends. Over the weekend, she received a text message, and she ended up receiving it 3 times. And the first time it came through, it's an urban legend, and it's basically this story about, hi, my name is Carmen, I think Winstead, and my friends pushed me down a well and I died, and then they basically said that I fell, and anyone who reads this, if they don't pass it on to 5 of their friends, they're going to die too. Just look what happened to Jason. He fell in the shower the next day after he didn't pass it on. My daughter got about 5 sentences into it and lost her mind. Came down, showed it to me, and so I had to have a whole conversation about urban legends.
Yeah, right.
And then I explained to her, I said, will you let me respond for you? Not saying it's me, but will you let me respond? And I just said, hey, so-and-so, this isn't real, and it's not very nice, just so you know. And the friend, of course, responded with, yes, it is. And she responded back, no, it's not. I looked it up, but then she got it 3 more times. Wow. And I said, this is the kind of thing, like, parents aren't paying attention, and even the ones who are paying attention, who do see it on their kids' phones, who say to them, this isn't real, are forgetting to go the extra step, which is do not pass it on.
Right. Exactly.
So you can have that initial conversation, but you're not, I don't know, I could talk to you guys for an hour about kids and online.
We'll have you on for another show about that and about the news in general and just kind of your thoughts on there, because I'd love to pick your brain about some other stuff. But the last question is, so what's next for extraordinarymommy.com?
I'm working on a couple of things on the side. I'm planning a webinar, a video-based webinar, so that I can help people along the lines of what we started to talk about there, because I'm very excited about that space. And I have some traveling. I'm working with Johnson & Johnson on their social good, so I'm going and speaking for them at Latism in Los Angeles in November. But we'll slow down a little bit, I think, heading into the holidays. I will get to spend lots of good time with my family, but I'll continue cranking out content and enjoying myself. But I'm really grateful that you guys had me on.
No, we're like I said, you raised the level. Me and Kevin are just like apes over here. Thank you so much for being on the show. Would love to have you back in the future. Anytime you want to come on to talk about whatever you want to talk about, any kind of promotion, any kind of anything to talk about. But like I said, I definitely want to have you on in the future more, because I'd like to talk about women in technology, maybe a little bit women in the space. We recently added an addition to the team. We have a woman CEO, and how beneficial that's been for us, and what other companies maybe could do to promote within and stuff like that. So, anyways, you're a phenomenal human being. Don't forget to check out Danielle on Twitter at Danielle Smith TV, and also extraordinarymommy.com and DanielleSmithMedia.com. So thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your rainy day.
Yes.
Please, Dave. You guys are delightful. I really appreciate this. I'm grateful.
All right.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thanks, Danielle.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye, guys.
Well, how do we follow that up, Kevin? You tell me.
That's tough. She's definitely heavily involved with a lot of great things and a lot of great mindsets going.
Yeah, I hate that we arbitrarily have a time limit, because like some people, I could just listen to them talk forever, but we have to have some sort of time limit for guests that suck. Yeah, so anyways, let's go ahead and hop right on into the local St. Louis news. And Kevin, why don't you get it kicked off with your STLTechTalk.com post that you did?
Yes, yeah. This last week, Steve Case, the co-founder of AOL, America Online, everybody knows it. Not many. Well, you'd be surprised how many people are still using AOL, of course, which is very surprising. But that's beside the point. Recently, Steve Case and some other investors have gone around the country. They went to 5 different locations, and St. Louis was their final stop. And they had what is called the Rise of the Rest competition, where 10 companies got to pitch their business plan, their business idea. Some of them are, already well established and, well going along. And Steve Case was going to give them a $100,000 investment to the winner. And the winner of this from Friday of the St. Louis leg was Steve Young and the Cynic Draft System team. So, they're located at the CIC 4240 building, I believe, down at Cortex District. So, congratulations to them. We've got a post on STLTechTalk.com that lists all 10 companies. You had Eteria and Material Mix, just to name a few of them. So definitely go over there and check that out. It was really good. It's nice to see, Steve Young. We've had Steve on the show twice now to talk about Cynic, and I was talking with him Thursday night at Venture Cafe the night before. He was to give his pitch to Steve Case, and he was really confident. And he should be. They've got a really great product. They're the most successful St. Louis-based Kickstarter, raising $648,000, and they're definitely moving forward. So we should be.
They got it going on, brother man.
Yeah.
They got it going on.
Talk with their engineer, who said probably by the end of October, I believe, they're looking at having their pre-production units available and ready to be able to go around and truly show off and demonstrate how this machine is going to be working right there for everybody to see and test and try out. So looking forward to that.
No, that's awesome, and we we have not been shy about promoting this company Cynic. They got it going on, man, and we really are happy for them. Again, it is a beer distribution where it takes the middleman out. You can order beer straight to your door in cartridges that you can put in to like a small. It's not even that big, but it's a nice little rectangular box, if you will, that sits on your
machine of draft beer.
Yeah, so for those you don't know, those quick one-shot coffee makers, it's just like that, just for beer. You just write beer, and you can get all sorts of beer, and they just come in little cartridges. You can toss them out, or you can send them back. It's great. It's wonderful. It's perfect. So on to the next story is a local St. Louis-based startup just won called Candy Lab, announced an agreement with Carnival Corporation to build custom mobile applications using the Candy Lab's augmented reality platform. Carnival Corporation, which is Carnival Cruises, is a $15 billion company, world's largest cruise ship operator. Also, they are a recent, I want to say, Arch Grant winner. and that's a local $50,000 prize for startups here in the St. Louis area, so that's pretty friggin' sweet if you ask me. Also, I had it was pulled up. There we go.
Yeah, and don't let anybody be misled into thinking $50,000 is not a good sum of money to get a company off the ground. You can only bootstrap yourself so far, and every $50,000 grant you can win is going to help you get somewhere. It's going to fill
yeah. We heard from a guy once that said $50,000 isn't enough and all this other kind of stuff. Don't listen to jackasses like that. All right, next up is so this is Candy Bar. Candy Bar is a custom branded mobile apps. So really cool. I'm going to have talk more about this in particular in a later story. Kevin, you're up with your next story.
All right. Now, everybody knows there's been so many data breaches, whether it's Kmart or Target or Home Depot. All these companies are getting their, data breach where customers, credit card information and personal information is getting hacked and stolen. Well, St. Louis hospitals are working towards making sure that there's a lot of critical information with hospitals, and there's so much healthcare related data with in a hospital. So a spokesman for SSM Healthcare, Steve Van Dinter, said that SSM goes to great lengths to protect its systems from malicious attacks. They use a variety of techniques, including antivirus software, malware protection, and use firewall intrusion technology, and also engage with external agencies to gauge their networks and make sure they are protected. So there's going to be a lot more. I mean, if you're into creating security software, if you're a software designer, software developer, that is such a great market to be in right now. If you're big into, security, because as you can see, it's like every week a big, well-known retail branch or restaurants, Jimmy John's or Dairy Queen, just to name a couple of the most recent ones. It's never ending, and with hospitals and your privacy information, there's HIPAA laws and all that. Hospitals have got to make sure that their information and their networks are locked down super tight, because so much is involved with that. So it's good to see them making sure to take more serious steps and be ahead of the wave.
And we should say that Unidev, sponsor of the show, actually does a lot of or has a nice security platform that they offer. So this is another reason why they're awesome. Let's see. So listen to me. Now I'm saying like I catch myself saying now. She was saying that. I was like,
gotcha.
Oh snap! Yeah. So the next story that I have just essentially revolves around all things that are tech related in St. Louis, and that is people get involved with STLTechTalk so that we can continue to bring you what's going on. There's a local IKEA store like coming in. There is a upcoming open house for CIC, the Cortex building down at 4240. And that is going to be a phenomenal event. We're going to be there. There's going to be a lot of awesome stuff going on. It's a big event for STL Tech Media and STL Tech Talk and developers for STL Tech Talk. So there's just going to be a lot of stuff going on there. Also, there's the Treehouse Network stuff that's going on. There's the Million Cups that happens every Wednesday morning down at the Channel 9 building. That's kind of like west off of Grand, by the St. Louis University. So that was what else I wanted to talk about. Now let's get into our application picks of the week. My application pick is actually the Candy Bar application from the Candy Lab. And here's what it is. So Candy Bar is a custom branded mobile app platform that improves events, tourism, and civic pride using the most accurate and accessible mobile technology that better engages users and deepens brand participation. Create a fun, interactive experience for your campaign or brand. Customize the app with your, the app For some reason, I thought that standing for something else. With your logo and content, connect with your audience using gamification, driving repeat interactions, and control the game content with their easy-to-use dashboard. Collect data from your campaign to measure your market reach. So a lot of really cool stuff. Jet Propulsion Laboratories has a nice little, testimonial here. They have another one. Let me see. Let's slide through these. The El Paso New Car Dealers. That's interesting. And I want to say the Historic Society for St. Louis, even. Nonprofit organization, STL250. So there's apps right now in the Apple App Store and on Google Play. So if you go to their website, candylab.com, you'll be able to check out who they are. There's an awesome landing page on their site. It's really amazing. You can actually find out how the apps work. You can find out how to make your own campaign. What is a visitor network? And then you can read recent news articles from Alive Magazine, St. Louis Business Journal, and on Arch Grants for more information about them. And they're a St. Louis company, so that's awesome. Kevin, did you have your pick of the week?
Yeah, it's baseball season. Big time for St. Louis sports. The Rams are in season. Blues season just started up. I know we've talked recently. Oh, it's been a while since we talked with Matt Seebeck, but you can always use Rookies app to create sports cards, whether it's baseball, football theme, whatever you want to do, and you can always use these to do, whether it's invitations or business cards. You can use this app and create your own pack of essentially baseball cards. It's free on iOS devices, so iPhone currently still working on their Android app, and also there's the Cast app. So I think if you search Cast app on iOS, you can kind of do polls. So you can create your own little question and submit that out, and have people have different options they can vote for. I know Matt Seebeck is really active on Twitter, pushing, asking questions, sharing questions from the app. It's really, really neat. I like the thought behind it, and I know they've partnered up with the St. Louis Rams to feature that a little bit more during Rams games. So make sure to, on your iOS devices, do a search for Rookies app and Cast app.
Nice. So there are a whole bunch of events coming up, and I'm so excited to talk about this. Color Art event. If you don't know about it, hit us up about it. We're going to be talking about it all over the place. Color Art is having an event down at T-Rex, November the 12th. They're bringing in a tractor trailer, a multitude of tractor trailers, and they're going to be showing off their office furniture that is just totally rockin', awesome for startups, small businesses, big businesses, doesn't matter. They just do a whole bunch of phenomenal work. We're going to have a landing page and more to talk about that, so hit us up on the social media for that. Tuesday, October 14th, Start Louis. It's a free event. There's going to be great speakers. It's down at T-Rex building, 911 Washington Avenue. It's going to have the St. Louis League and Susan Sawyer as their two main speakers. Also, Wednesday, October the 15th, 2014, there's a veterans online learning. So the Small Business Association is doing a webinar for veterans to learn more about how to make their business structure better so that they can make more money and all that. Also next is on Saturday, October the 18th, Prosper Next is at Tech Artista, 4818 Washington Boulevard, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. And Kevin, did you have any events on here?
No, I mean there's so many meetups. We talk about it all the time. Just go to STLTechTalk.com/calendar and you'll see a list of meetups, whether you want to find out Python developer meetup groups or anything else that you can possibly think of. We've got a whole lot of stuff on our calendar that people just check it out, and you'll find out there is a meetup group in St. Louis for you, for what you want to learn about, right, to meet other like-minded people.
Right. And it's October, so the kids are in school. everything's going down. Midterms are probably going to be coming up here pretty soon, so hit us up for content that you'd like to see on STLTechTalk.com and all of our different properties. Also, we want to make sure that everybody goes and checks out STL Tech Media's work, so hire us to do that stuff too. And just contact at STLTechTalk.com if you want more stories about a particular subject. Contact us there. Hope Line, the Domestic Violence Prevention Support Program, is something that everybody should check out. That was in the news recently. The Women's Safe House is a local charity that you can donate to. Safe Connections, also both of those are for domestic violence prevention and support organizations. And the Schumann Water Group. And Hope for Young Adults with Cancer, just do searches for those things. You'll find out what they are. It's awesome. So I just wanted to say thank you to our guest, Danielle Smith. And thank you to our fans. We love you and thank you for your support of the show. Kevin, is there any final thoughts you have for the end of this wonderful episode?
One last thing that I do want to talk about is there's just under 1 week left to get entered into our one of 2 free passes to stlouisdays.net. If you are interested in going to the conference, it's going to be November 13th through the 15th at the Ameristar Resort and Casino in St. Charles. Make sure to visit STLTechTalk.com and you can find out how you can get entered to win a free pass to this year's stlouisdays.net Developer Conference.
Nice. Everybody sign up, man. The competition is going to be fierce. So, from the entire STL Tech Talk crew, stay frosty. We're out.